Denmark is a great place to work, or is it? I am Mario and I have been living in Denmark for the past 12 years and I think I know the place pretty well. In today's video, I'll tell you straight up the top pros and cons specifically to working in Denmark. So if you're planning to move here or you want to hear more about life in Denmark, this video is for you. Let's go first through the pros. Number one is the high income. Money matters, and in Denmark you make good money. So even if taxes will take a huge amount of your salary, you're still better off than most of the world. It might not be as good as working in tech in the US or working in Switzerland or working in Qatar, but even for almost all jobs, blue collar, white collar, you're really well off here in Denmark. You can even check out this video over here where I go through how much specifically you would earn living in Denmark. Next pro is the excellent perks. So the usual company in Denmark, so corporations at least, but to be fair, almost all the small companies as well, provide you as an employee with breakfast, lunch, gym membership, phone, home internet connection, massage in some cases, discounts for restaurants, or the zoo, you name it, lots of perks. For example, myself, I work in Maersk, where we have a fuel-equipped gym at the office, straight in the premises. We have breakfast, we have lunch every day, which costs some money, but I mean, it's nothing. We have a phone plan, we have discounts in the supermarkets, we have clubs for sailing, for running, you name it. And again, it's just one company. When I was working in Carlsberg, we also got almost all of that plus free beer. So again, I know from colleagues and friends working in other companies and startups that it's a similar situation. The next point is work-life balance. And Denmark places a special emphasis on work-life balance. This is something that is very important here in Denmark and also in Scandinavia, where not only the society is like this, but also the government pushes the policies and benefits to make this happen. For example, employees in Denmark are entitled to 5 weeks of paid vacation each year. Many companies give you 6 weeks as well. They also have flexible working arrangements, and it was like this even before COVID as well. Just to give a concrete example, like nobody will say anything if you leave early the office and early like 3:30, 3 o'clock to pick up the kids. Again, that's normal time here, and it's very well accepted by almost all people here. In most countries, you would need to work 2 or 3 more hours at the office. I mean, this is nice that it's like this here. Next up is the job security or flexicurity model. The gist of this is that in Denmark, it's easy for companies to hire and to fire people, much easier than many other countries in Europe. But there's a strong support network to help these people that have been, for example, recently fired, to be supported in between jobs. And the 3 core elements of this model, and I quote the Danish government's own website here, is that employees can fire and hire at will without excessive cost for dismissing employees. And again, there's very few litigation when it comes to dismissing people. Then employees who join and pay a subscription fees to something that's called an A-kasse, which is an unemployment insurance funds, get up to 2 years of unemployment benefits after losing their jobs. And again, like I'll explain more on that in a video that's over here. And then the government from Denmark as well runs through these 2 years of people, for example, up to 2 years people being unemployed, education campaigns, retaining programs, counseling services to basically help these people go back into the workforce. To you as an employee, this A-kasse situation and this flexicurity model makes you be less afraid of being fired, which is the biggest thing. I mean, let's be honest, in a sense that it's always good to cap your downside. But now let's jump into the cons. And the number one is the limited job market. So Denmark is a small country. There are less than 6 million people living here. So there's more people in London than in the whole of Denmark. And there's even some boroughs of New York have more people than Denmark, right? So still, the corporate sector in Denmark and the job market as a whole punches above its weight in the sense that you have a lot of big companies that have their headquarters in Denmark. We're talking about Novo Nordisk, Maersk, Carlsberg, Arla. There's many big companies here. But if you compare to other big cities such as London or Paris, as I mentioned, but even cities like Amsterdam or Stockholm, there's less job options here, especially for specific sectors. If you want to work in logistics or pharma, you're pretty good because those sectors are overrepresented in the Danish economy, or at least you have very big players, as for example, as I mentioned, Maersk or Novo Nordisk, and there are other even pharma companies like Leo Pharma, Coloplast. But when you look into, for example, tech or startups, if that's what you want to work on, there's definitely a lot less companies on that than you see behind in other cities, like, for example, as I mentioned, Amsterdam. The second con is the Janteloven. Janteloven, or the laws of Jante, are an unwritten social code in Denmark that emphasizes humility and discourages individualism. So this cultural norm encourages people in Denmark to just blend in and avoid boasting about their achievements. And this is very entrenched into the Danish society and basically can drive and scare away entrepreneurial spirits or people that want to innovate, take risks and get big rewards. It's easier for people like this to move somewhere else. The third con are the high taxes. There's a certain point where it just doesn't make financial sense to live in Denmark. The taxes you'll be paying will be just almost 60% of your salary, and plus when you add the investment taxes that can be up to 42%, and realize there's a point in your wealth journey where you'll be better off living somewhere else. Again, in Denmark you get to see a lot of what your taxes are used for, in a sense that you have free healthcare, free education and so on. But still, when you're earning a lot of money, this is not a good place to be. The last con is that Denmark is a hard place to make friends, especially if you're coming to work only. So according to the latest surveys, Denmark is the second hardest place in the world for expats to make friends, again in the whole world. Only Kuwait is worse. So if you teleport yourself from Denmark to basically any other country, you will have an easier time making friends there than you would do in Denmark. At least that's what this survey say. So work life here can then be a bit boring, specifically on the social front. Even in some big companies, it just can be very hard to build a network or to make a big bunch of friends. It goes from person to person. What you just need to know is that you need to make a lot more effort or be a lot more outgoing, a lot more out there in order to build a network here than you would do in other countries. So that's work specifically. You can also check this video out where I go through my Denmark top 10, which gives you my takes on the best things about living and working in Denmark.